The night sky burned with fire as ships clashed above the ruined world. The alien warrior, Kalara, stood tall among the smoke and dust, her silver armor glowing under the flames. She was known as the fiercest blade of her people, a commander feared by humans across many systems. Her people believed mercy was weakness, and Kalara carried that belief deep in her blood. Every battle was a test of strength, and she had never once hesitated to strike down her enemy. The ground shook as explosions tore apart the battlefield. Human soldiers moved in squads, their rifles glowing blue with energy fire. Kalara's troops roared with alien war cries, their curved blades cutting through the smoke. The clash of steel and plasma filled the night. To Kalara, this was not chaos, it was music. This was where she belonged. Yet on this night, something shifted. In the heat of the fight, Kalara faced a squad of humans. Her blade moved faster than their eyes could follow, cutting through their defenses. But as she raised her weapon to strike down the last human, an explosion ripped the ground apart. Kalara was thrown hard into the rubble, her helmet cracking as pain rushed through her skull. Her vision blurred. The sound of war faded for a moment. When she opened her eyes again, she saw him, a lone human soldier, standing over her with his weapon raised. His armor was scratched, his face covered in blood and dust. His breathing was heavy, but his aim was steady. Kalara's heart pounded with fury and pride. She had fought all her life never to beg, never to fear. If this was her end, she would die with honor. Her hand reached for her broken blade, ready to strike one last time. But then, something unexpected happened. The human did not fire. He hesitated, lowering his weapon slowly. His eyes met hers, not with hatred, not with rage, but with something alien to her kind. Mercy. Kalara froze. She did not understand. Why would he spare her, an enemy commander, the one who had killed so many of his kind? This was madness, this was weakness. Among her people, showing mercy was the greatest shame. Yet here he was, standing tall, choosing not to end her. The human spoke, his voice rough but calm. You don't have to die tonight. His words cut through the noise of battle. For Kalara, they struck harder than any blade. Her pride screamed inside her chest. She wanted to spit in his face, to tell him to finish it. But deep inside, a quiet voice whispered something she had never heard before. What if mercy was not weakness? What if mercy was power? The battle raged on around them, but in that moment, time felt still. The human stepped back, keeping his weapon lowered. He did not run. He did not fear her. He simply turned, covering his squad as they retreated. Kalara lay on the ground, stunned, her mind filled with questions she could not silence. When her soldiers found her minutes later, they believed the human had failed to kill her. They carried her away, shouting her name as if she had claimed victory. But Kalara knew the truth. She had been spared. She had been shown something forbidden, something dangerous. And the thought haunted her more than any wound. That night, as she sat in the dark of her war tent, Kalara replayed the moment again and again. The fire in his eyes, the strength in his choice. It was not weakness, it was something else. She clenched her fists, her pride burning like a wound. But no matter how she tried, she could not push the question away. Why had he spared her life? And even more frightening, why did part of her feel grateful? The battlefield was silent now, but the war inside Kalara's mind had only begun. She walked through her camp with the same proud steps, her soldiers cheering her name as if nothing had happened. To them, she was still the unbroken warrior, the one who crushed human squads with ruthless skill. But behind her cold eyes, the memory of that human soldier burned like fire. Why had he spared her? Why had he chosen mercy when he had victory in his hands? Kalara had been raised to believe mercy was poison. From her first day of training, the elders had beaten into her mind that compassion leads only to defeat. A true warrior shows no hesitation, no kindness. Yet his hesitation had saved her, and now she could not escape it. In the war tent, her second-in-command spoke of strategies. They were preparing for another raid, another clash against the humans. But Kalara heard little of his words. Her mind drifted back to the human's eyes, clear, steady, unafraid. She had looked into many human faces before, all of them filled with fear or hate. This one had been different. It unsettled her more than any weapon. At night, when the campfires dimmed, Kalara walked alone. The stars above reminded her of home, a world where warriors sang songs of victory and silence fell for the fallen. There had never been songs of mercy. There had never been tales of sparing an enemy. To her people, such a story would be told only in whispers of shame. Yet she could not erase it. His voice replayed in her head. You don't have to die tonight. For the first time, she wondered if honor was more than blood and victory. Could there be honor in letting go? Could there be strength in refusing to strike? The thought disgusted her, yet fascinated her. Her pride pushed against it, like chains pulling her back. But curiosity broke through, slow and dangerous. Days later, when her scouts returned with news of human patrols, Kalara found herself asking a forbidden question. Did you see a soldier with scars across his face, his armor marked with blue lines? Her warriors looked at her with confusion. One of them said, Commander, why ask about one human? He is nothing. Kalara's voice was cold when she answered, I do not forget the ones who stand before me. But deep inside, she knew it was not hate driving her question, it was something else. The next battle came with fire and screams. Kalara fought, as always, her blade flashing in the smoke. Yet she found herself searching the chaos. Every time a human helmet turned, she wondered if it was him. When she cut them down, her chest grew heavy, not with victory, but with unease. She began to wonder if sparing her had been part of strategy. Was he playing a longer game? Or was it truly what it seemed, mercy? That night, when the battle was won, Kalara stood before the burning ruins. Her soldiers chanted her name, but their voices sounded hollow. Her honor had always been her shield, but now it felt cracked. She remembered her father's words. Mercy kills faster than any blade. Yet she had lived because of it. How could weakness give her life? How could shame feel like power? In secret, she began watching the humans differently, not just as enemies, but as beings who fought for something beyond conquest. They protected one another, even in retreat. They carried their wounded, even when it slowed them. Among her people, the weak were abandoned without thought. But the humans, they chose to fight together or die together. Kalara could not understand it, but she could not look away either. As days turned to weeks, the question grew louder in her mind. Was mercy weakness, or was it a strength her people had never understood? If she admitted it, she would betray everything she had been taught. But if she ignored it, the memory of his eyes would still haunt her. Honor had once been clear, simple, sharp like her blade. Now it felt uncertain, trembling like fire in the wind. Kalara clenched her fists, staring at the scars across her armor. She whispered to herself, Why did you let me live, human? Her voice shook with anger, but also with something she refused to name. Something dangerous, something new. The question of honor was no longer about her people. It was about her, and the answer, she knew, could change everything. The rain fell hard on the ruined outpost, washing away blood and ash from the last clash. Kalara's forces had pushed deep into human lines, but the humans fought back with a desperate fire. In the chaos, smoke blinded the warriors and orders broke apart. When the dust cleared, Kalara found herself separated, her squad gone, her blade broken in her hand. Before she could regroup, human soldiers surrounded her, their rifles aimed, their voices sharp with command. She raised her chin, ready to die with pride, but instead of execution, chains wrapped around her wrists. For the first time in her life, Kalara, the commander, the unyielding warrior, was taken alive. Dragged through mud and fire, she was thrown into a human camp, locked inside a steel cage lit by cold lamps. Her heart boiled with rage, not at the humans, but at herself. To be captured was shame enough, but worse still, she remembered the face of the soldier who had spared her before. When the door opened and he stepped inside, her fury turned to silence. It was him, the scarred human with the steady eyes. He carried no arrogance, no cruelty, only calm control as he approached. The guards left them alone, trusting him to handle her. Kalara's golden eyes glared through the dim light, her voice cutting like a blade. "You should have killed me when you had the chance." The human's reply was simple, "And yet you are still here." She tried to lunge, but the chains pulled her back. Her people would never forgive this humiliation, and if they saw her now, they would call her broken. But the human soldier did not mock her, did not strike her. Instead, he set water and food inside the cage, as if she were not an enemy, but a guest. Kalara spat on the ground, refusing at first, yet hunger betrayed her pride. She tasted the bread and felt fury at herself for taking it. Every day he returned, silent at first, then speaking in fragments. He told her of his world, a planet of oceans and green forests. He spoke of family, of bonds, of the belief that no warrior truly stands alone. Kalara mocked him. "Your kind clings to weakness. That is why you fall before us." But the human did not rise to anger. Instead, he only said, "Perhaps, or perhaps it is why we endure." At night, Kalara dreamed of her people's songs, songs of blades and blood. But when she woke, she remembered his calm voice, his strange strength. She hated that part of her listened, hated that his words made cracks in her armor. Still, her mind returned again and again to that battlefield moment, to the mercy that now chained her fate. One evening, alarms screamed through the camp. Human soldiers rushed, weapons drawn. Shadows moved at the edge of firelight. Kalara's heart leapt. Her people had come for her. She stood ready, eyes burning, waiting to be freed. But then she saw them, alien raiders cutting down human guards without care. They did not try to rescue her. They sought only blood. Even if she was in their path, they would not hesitate to kill her too. The scarred human rushed in, unlocking her cage, his weapon drawn. "Stay close if you want to live," he barked. Kalara's pride screamed to refuse, but survival pulled her forward. Chains still on her wrists, she fought beside him, kicking, striking, forcing her captor's enemies back. Together, human and alien warrior cut through the chaos, back to back. The clash was fierce, but when the last of her people fled, leaving her behind, silence fell heavy. Kalara's chest heaved with breath, her eyes staring at the night where her own kind had abandoned her. For the first time, she felt something colder than defeat, betrayal. The human looked at her, his face unreadable. "You see now," he said quietly, "mercy is not weakness, it is choice." She wanted to scream, to deny, but no words came. She thought of her people leaving her in chains, thought of him breaking those same chains so she could fight. Her honor twisted like a blade in her chest. How can an enemy show her more loyalty in a moment than her own people? That night, Kalara sat in silence, staring at the scarred human across the fire. She had been his prisoner, but in truth, she was a prisoner of her own thoughts. The question burned deeper than ever. Was she bound to the honor of her people, or was there another path? A path she did not yet understand, but one she could no longer ignore. The nights in the human camp were colder than Kalara expected. The metal walls of the outpost held no warmth, only silence broken by distant patrols and the hum of machines. She sat by the fire with chains still clinking softly at her wrists, her golden eyes fixed on the soldier who had spared her twice. His name, she finally learned, was Darius. He was not like the human she had fought before. Others shouted orders, cursed, or laughed nervously to hide fear. Darius spoke little, yet his presence carried a weight stronger than noise. Even when he sat sharpening his blade, Kalara felt his calmness pressing against her rage. At first, she refused to speak, choosing silence over surrender. But Darius broke that silence in small ways. He asked her why her people fought without retreat, why they abandoned their wounded without a glance. Kalara answered with pride. The weak slow the strong. The weak deserve no place in battle. He studied her carefully, then replied, and yet here you are alive because I did not see you as weak. His words cut deeper than chains. Days turned into nights, and each night into more questions. Kalara found herself speaking more than she wanted. She told him of her world, a world where storms carved mountains and children trained with blades before they could read. She spoke of her father, a general who taught her that mercy was poison. Darius listened, never mocking, never flinching, only listening. When she finished, he said softly, "Perhaps your father was right for his world, but here, in this war, things are different." Kalara hated the conflict rising in her chest. She wanted to dismiss him as a fool, but his actions did not match weakness. He treated prisoners with respect. He fought without cruelty. He saved her when even her own people left her to die. The warrior inside her screamed this was dishonor, but another voice whispered it might be something greater. One night, the camp was attacked again, not by her people, but by raiders from another alien clan seeking supplies. Alarms wailed, soldiers shouted, and chaos tore through the walls. Kalara's chains rattled as she was pushed toward the barracks for safety, but she shoved the guard aside. "I will not cower like a child," she growled. Darius threw her a spare blade, and without hesitation, she caught it. Together, they fought side by side. Kalara's strikes were swift and brutal. Darius's aim sharp and unerring. Back to back, they moved like two parts of a single weapon. She had never fought with a human before, but in that moment, their rhythm felt natural. Each time she faltered, his blade covered her. Each time he stumbled, her roar cleared the path. When the last raider fell, Kalara stood, gasping, blood on her hands, her eyes locked with Darius. In that firelit silence, she realized the unthinkable. She had trusted him with her life. Later, when the fires were out and the camp quiet again, Kalara sat across from him, the chains between them glinting in the light. "Why do you trust me?" she asked, her voice low. "I could kill you the moment these are gone." Darius met her gaze without fear, "Because I believe you would not." The simplicity of his answer shook her. Trust, mercy, honor, words that once meant nothing to her now twisted her every thought. That night Kalara could not sleep. She thought of her people's cold honor, of warriors who abandoned her. Then she thought of this human who fought beside her, as if she was his equal. For the first time in her life, the lines of loyalty blurred. She was alien, he was human, yet in the shadows of war, they shared something her own people had never given her. By dawn, Kalara sat staring at the horizon. Her pride told her to despise him, but her heart whispered a dangerous truth. She was no longer his prisoner, not truly. She was prisoner to the questions he had awoken inside her. And those questions were more terrifying than any chain. The days passed, and Kalara's chains grew lighter, not because they were loosened, but because her mind no longer fought against them with the same fury. She had once sworn to escape at the first chance, to spill human blood until her honor was restored. But now, when she looked at Darius, she felt the sharp edge of that vow dulling. Something new pressed against her chest, heavy and strange. She had fought countless battles, yet none unsettled her like this. When she stood among the humans, she saw how they fought differently. They carried their wounded even when it slowed them. They shared food with one another when rations were scarce. No warrior was left behind, not even the weakest. To Kalara's people, this was madness. Yet in her heart, she wondered if madness could sometimes be strength. One night, as the fire burned low, Darius told her of his home. He spoke of forests with tall green trees, of children running through fields without fear. Kalara listened, silent, imagining such a world. Her people's children carried blades at 6 years old. They were taught to kill before they could read. The thought of a child laughing without war felt impossible, yet Darius spoke of it as truth. She wanted to laugh at him, to call it a dream, but the images would not leave her mind. The more she listened, the more she saw the distance between two worlds. Her world of cold honor, his world of compassion. Her pride burned each time she thought of it. But deep inside, something fragile stirred. Could it be that honor was not one thing, but many? Could it be that she had been taught only half of what honor truly meant? The test came without warning. A scouting party of humans fell into an ambush, and the camp scrambled to respond. Darius led a small team to pull them out, and Kalara was dragged along, her chains clinking with every step. The battlefield came alive with fire once more, and Kalara felt her blood sing. She cut through raiders with ruthless speed, fighting beside Darius as though she had done so all her life. But then, in the chaos, she saw it. An enemy blade raised high above Darius's back. Time slowed. Her pride screamed to let it fall, to watch the human die and reclaim her freedom. But something stronger rose inside her. Her body moved before her mind, her blade striking down the attacker, saving Darius from certain death. When the enemy fell, Darius turned, his eyes meeting hers with a mix of shock and quiet gratitude. Kalara felt her chest twist, not with shame, but with something terrifyingly close to pride. When they returned to camp, whispers spread among the humans. The alien warrior had saved one of their own. Some distrusted her more. Others looked at her with new eyes. Kalara herself sat alone, replaying the moment again and again. Why had she saved him? Why had she broken the very code of her people? The answer was simple, yet she refused to say it. Because in that moment, she had not seen an enemy. She had seen a warrior beside her. Later, Darius approached her, his voice calm as always. "You did not have to save me," he said. Kalara's reply came sharp, almost defensive. "You would have done the same." He smiled faintly. "Yes, because that is what we are taught." She looked away, unable to meet his eyes. For the first time, she realized she was caught between two worlds. Her people would call her a traitor. The humans would never fully trust her. Yet in her heart, she knew she could no longer belong fully to either side. That night, Kalara sat by the fire, staring at the stars. The questions inside her grew louder. Was she betraying her blood, or was she discovering a truth greater than blood? Was mercy weakness, or was it the kind of strength her people had never dared to grasp? Between two worlds, she stood alone. But in her chest, a quiet flame burned, and she feared it might one day consume her. The campfire crackled low as Kalara sat in silence. The humans around her laughed, argued, and sang their rough songs. Yet none of their voices touched her. Her mind was heavy, torn between the world she was born into and the one she now lived beside. She was a commander of her people, bound by the code of no mercy. Yet she had saved a human's life. And worse, she felt no shame. Darius noticed her silence, but he did not push her with questions. He only offered her food, shared the warmth of the fire, and walked beside her when patrols stretched long into the night. Kalara hated that his presence felt steady, like a mountain she could not break. The chains at her wrists no longer felt like prison. They felt like a reminder of a choice she had not yet made. Then came the day her world shattered again. Human scouts captured one of Kalara's own, an alien officer she had once trained beside. His name was Varric, a warrior who had stood with her through blood and fire. When the humans dragged him into camp, Kalara's heart leapt. For a moment, she thought her people had come for her at last. But when Varric's eyes met hers, they were filled not with relief, but with burning disgust. "You," he spat in their tongue, his voice laced with venom. "You sit among them like a tamed beast." Kalara's chest tightened. She wanted to rise, to explain, but the words froze. Varric continued, his voice sharp enough to cut. "You should have died with honor, yet you live with shame, chained at the side of your enemy." The human guards pushed him down, but his eyes never left Kalara. "They will never be your people, and now, neither are we." The words struck harder than any blade. Kalara felt her blood boil, yet beneath the anger was a deeper wound: betrayal. This was her comrade, her brother in war, yet he saw her as nothing but a traitor. Her silence only deepened the judgment in his eyes. For the first time, Kalara wondered if she truly had a place anywhere. Later that night, Darius found her standing alone outside the camp walls. His voice was steady, but softer than before. "His words cut you," he said. Kalara growled. "He is wrong." Yet her voice trembled. Darius did not argue. He only said, "You must decide, Kalara, who you are and who you wish to be." She turned on him with fury. "And what would you have me be, human, a traitor to my blood, or a dog for your army?" His reply was quiet, but it struck her heart. "I would have you be free." Those words haunted her more than Varric's insults. Free. She had never been free. Her life had always been bound by her people's code, by her father's command, by honor written in blood. But now, for the first time, she saw another path, a dangerous one, but one that burned with possibility. The next day, chaos erupted. A massive assault from her people struck the human camp. Waves of alien warriors storming the walls. Explosions shook the ground. Fire lit the sky, and war once more became her world. Kalara fought beside Darius, blade flashing, chains snapping under the force of battle. But then she saw him, Varric, leading the charge, his eyes locked on her with merciless fury. "You should have died, Kalara," he roared, his blade striking against hers. Sparks flew, and the clash of two warriors echoed across the battlefield. He fought not only to kill her, but to erase her from memory, to make her death a warning. Kalara's strength faltered under the weight of choice. Would she kill her brother in arms to protect the humans, or fall with him to protect her honor? In the chaos, Darius's voice rang out, "Kalara, choose." Her chest thundered, her grip tightened. Varric pressed harder, screaming, "Die with honor, or live with shame." But Kalara's heart burned with a new fire. She deflected his strike and roared, "I will live by my own blade." Her counterattack drove Varric back, her blade cutting through his guard, forcing him to retreat with rage in his eyes. When the battle ended, the camp lay in ruins, bodies scattered under smoke and fire. Kalara stood at the center, blood on her hands, chains broken. She looked at Darius, his face grim but steady. In her chest, the truth settled like a storm finally given voice. She could never return to her people, not as the warrior she once was. Her choice had been made, though it tore her apart. Kalara had betrayed her people, but in truth, they had betrayed her first. Now she stood between worlds, no longer bound by the code of one, yet not accepted fully by the other. And though the path ahead was dark, she felt a strange strength rising in her heart. For the first time, Kalara's life was her own. The dawn rose over a broken horizon, red light cutting across smoke and ruin. Kalara stood on the edge of the human camp, her armor cracked, her blade stained, her chains now gone. Around her, soldiers rebuilt what they could, carrying their wounded, burning the dead. She had chosen her path, but the cost weighed heavy. Her people would never forgive her, and the humans still looked at her with suspicion. Yet Darius's gaze held no fear, only quiet trust. The war was not over. The alien high command had vowed to crush the humans in one final push. Scouts reported massive fleets gathering, armies marching, a storm of fire ready to consume all. Kalara knew what it meant. Her former commander would come, and with him, judgment. This was not only a battle for survival, it was a battle for her soul. That night before the assault, Kalara sharpened her broken blade. It was no longer the proud weapon of her people, but a scarred reminder of her journey. Darius sat beside her, silent, until he finally asked, "When the storm comes, will you stand with us?" Kalara's eyes glowed in the firelight, her voice firm. "I will stand where my choice has led me." The next day, the sky burned with ships. Alien vessels descended, casting shadows across the land. The ground shook as thousands of warriors advanced, their roars filling the air. The humans braced their defenses, weapons primed, hearts steady despite the fear. At the front line, Kalara walked beside Darius, her presence shocking both armies. Her people saw her as a traitor, the humans as an uncertain ally. Yet she stood taller than ever. When the battle began, the world turned to fire. Explosions tore the earth, screams and steel clashed in chaos. Kalara fought like a storm unleashed, her blade cutting through the warriors she once called brothers. Each strike tore at her heart, but each strike also forged her new path. She spared none who tried to kill her, but when she disarmed her old commander, she hesitated. His eyes burned with fury, spitting words of venom. Weak, dishonored, broken. But Kalara only lowered her blade, her voice strong. "No, I am free." She turned her back, sparing him as she had once been spared. In that moment, she understood the truth. Mercy was not weakness. Mercy was power. It was the power to break the endless chain of blood, the power to choose her own fate. Darius fought beside her until the last enemy line broke. Together they stood amidst smoke and ruin, battered but alive. The humans cheered, not only for their survival, but for the strange warrior who had fought with them. Kalara's chest rose with pride, a pride not born from conquest, but from something greater. She had found honor not in victory, not in blood, but in mercy. As the sun set on the battlefield, Kalara walked to the edge of the camp, staring at the stars. She was no longer just an alien warrior, no longer only a commander or a prisoner. She was something new, something forged between two worlds. Her people's songs would curse her name, but she no longer feared their judgment. Her life was her own, and her choice had carved a new path. Darius joined her, standing in silence before asking, "What will you do now?" Kalara's voice carried both sorrow and strength. "I will fight, not for them, not for you, but for what I now believe." Darius nodded, understanding more than her words. Together, they looked at the endless sky, a sky no longer divided by enemy and ally, a sky filled with possibility. And in the quiet, Kalara whispered to herself, "The alien warrior never expected mercy, until it became the weapon that set her free."